But is the new Demon Slayer Infinity Castle movie worth watching? Yeah, but with a few caveats. I think the mixed reviews are valid, and I will get into that. Infinity Castle has been dominating the box office worldwide. It beat the Titanic in Japan, and I think it makes sense because this arc is the big payoff that all of us have been waiting for. It is the final fight. So if you haven't seen Demon Slayer in a while, I highly recommend watching a recap video. I'll put a screenshot and link the one that my husband and I watched together before we went and watched the movie, because I think a refresher would be really good for a movie. I have read the manga, so I knew it was coming. I read it, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, and I loved it. I was very excited to see these fights animated and see these backstories. Demon Slayer has always been very memorable for me, and a lot of people complain about how boring, how predictable Demon Slayer is. While I can agree with that, I also think that its simplicity is its strength because it's an easy to follow shonen. I think that it's very well done. It's not trying to be anything different, and it does the emotional aspects well, in my opinion, because of how good they are at establishing the characters and how unique they are, giving them their catchphrases, no matter how cheesy some people may feel that they are. That's just how I feel personally. I may want to leave this with a spoiler-free intro because I know that not everyone has seen it and may just want a quick overview. So here's my quick spoiler-free review, and then I will jump into my thoughts and details, and it will be very spoiler-heavy, so don't watch if you don't want to see that. If you are expecting 2.5 hours of straight action, that is not what this movie is. It is very backstory heavy. So if you're going to see the movie, please be prepared for that. I think that is Demon Slayer's specialty, is the demons' backstories, because that's a big part of Demon Slayer is empathy for the demons, or at least just understanding their motivations more, why they even agreed to become demons. This is something that the movie definitely leans on heavily. Some may feel like it was perfect. Others are going to feel like it dragged on for way too long. I feel like I am somewhere in the middle. I think that there's definitely things that they could have done to shorten it while still maintaining that same emotion. That being said, I'm happy that this was a movie because I feel like it would have been back-to-back episodes of just straight flashbacks. So I really enjoyed just being able to watch it all at once. You're not going to be disappointed by the animation. The fight scenes are incredible. Ufotable, is that how you say it? Never misses. And I think that this is going to be amazing for the 3-part movie series. The movies are releasing, I believe, 2 years apart each. So the last movie is releasing in 2029. While I feel conflicted about that, just read the manga if you don't want to wait that long. But more than anything, I just hope that's realistic for the animators, and if it's allowing them to finish at a doable pace where they're not overworking themselves, then that's great. That's all I could ask for. Anyway, getting into the actual movie, the spoilers. But don't listen to this if you don't want to know about any spoilers, because I'm going to do my thoughts on specific events that have happened in the movie. Shinobu versus Doma. I actually felt like it wasn't as long as I would have hoped it to be. When I read this in the manga, it kind of had me obsessed with Shinobu because I think she's one of the more interesting characters. I believe the first season of Demon Slayer where Tanjiro is like, "Are you angry?" And Shinobu kind of presents as a soft, kind, happy girl, but she's actually full of anger and vengeance and emotion towards the loss of her sister and her family. I think what makes Shinobu so interesting is that she's not a physically strong Hashira, but her knowledge of poisons is what makes her stand out. I feel like her strength was really displayed here. She's very resilient, and that showed when she was literally moving and Doma was like, "How are you still alive?" And then she pulls out her centipede form, and I had goosebumps like that whole entire fight. So it's one of my favorite fights in all of Demon Slayer, and I'm really excited to see Kano in part 2 of the movie. Zenitsu versus Kaigaku. This one, I felt the exact same as I did in the manga, as I did watching it. I was kind of like, where is this coming from? I feel like it was very rushed in the sense of, what do you mean Zenitsu has a friend, a cohort that is a demon, and we get introduced to all of it. I don't really care about his backstory. I didn't think it was that intriguing. So the emotional payoff was not really there for me. That was probably my least favorite part of the movie and felt kind of boring, yawn, except for the grandpa's line of him saying, "You are my pride and joy." That did get me teary-eyed, but that's because we already knew of Gramps. Obviously, seeing Zenitsu's 7th form was incredible. I don't think anyone can ever critique the actual fight scenes. Again, it's ufotable, and Yuki Kajiura is the composer, and she's like my goat. So I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how weak Zenitsu is, and Of course, he only beat the brand new demon, and they literally say that in the movie. And that's kind of the whole point. Zenitsu's not consistently powerful, and of course he's not going to be able to take on any other upper rank by himself. And obviously the author knows Zenitsu's strengths and weaknesses, so I don't really see the point of signaling how weak Zenitsu is. Giyu and Tanjiro versus Akaza. I think this was at peak Demon Slayer. This is also probably where I think people complain the most because his backstory was long. I think it was needed, and now he's the most loved demon. I'm seeing people say Avowed Crash Out. There's a lot of Easter eggs that I'm seeing and symbolism that were shown earlier on in the show, like Akaza watching the fireworks during the entertainment district arc, I believe, and the marks on his body being kanji for his wife's name. I can't remember if there's any others, but comment down below if there are. I'm sure there's some that I'm missing. I think it made it hit even harder. His backstory is definitely the strongest of all the demons. Dolma's wasn't really that interesting. He was just like this baby child that was worshipped. Kaigaku, you already know how I feel. Do not care for it at all. But seeing Akaza and all the loss that he endured, taking care of his father, doing his best to try to provide for his medicine and get him food, taking care of Koyuki, falling in love, kind of gaining another father figure after his loss, and then losing them. That was just so heartbreaking to see. And him gaining awareness and saying stop regenerating, punching himself. All of it was very emotional and I loved it. It was incredible, very well done. The only complaint that I could see people saying again is how long the backstory is, but I found it interesting and necessary for Akaza's character. Now, Giyu, on the other hand. Giyu and Gyome are my favorite Hashiras, and I feel like this fight is starting to show why that is. He's very observant. He matches Tanjiro and doesn't overstep. I feel like he's not very flashy and doesn't show off, but he knows what he's doing. Tanjiro literally left him in the dust when he blacked out. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, I believe, is worth the watch if you're okay with the backstories. I believe that it was just confirmed that they are not going to do a digital online release this year. Maybe it'll come out next year. If you're here for like very complex dialogue, then you're in the wrong place. Demon Slayer's not the anime for that. But if you want amazing fights, flashbacks that add depth to the characters, the demons, and a story that's very easy to follow but still emotionally moving, then I do think that this will be worth your time. Overall, I'd probably rate this an 8.5 out of 10. Great animation as always, amazing music, and it's making me really excited for the setup for the next movie in 2027. Let me know what you guys thought of Demon Slayer, your ratings, what you liked, what you disliked in the comments below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok if you have not already, and subscribe also if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
動画のコメント欄はこちら。唯一の難点は次回作を待たなきゃってこと。赤座のことはもう許しました。友達では回想長いって言ってる人もいた。善一の戦闘がもう少し長ければよかった。